I'm Dave Schratweiser, and joining me this week is a good friend of mine, somebody everybody knows in Philadelphia. He's the headliner for the Fraternal Order of Police in Philadelphia, and he does a great job up there as the president, John McNesby. John, thanks for coming on the show again. Greatly
My
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
My pleasure, Dave. Anything for you, man.
John, listen, I always like to weigh in with you. We haven't talked to you in a little while and get kind of the state of the union of the FOP right now. But I want to start today with kind of a little special thing here. We had two officers, one a highway patrolman, one a Montgomery County officer, wounded in a shooting July 4th, the night of July 4th, up by the Art Museum. Can you tell us, I'm sure you've been checking up on them because that's what you do with folks, how are they doing right now?
Both are recovering nicely. Both were very lucky, as you know, that night. Could have been an inch either way. Could have killed them. But Sergio Diggs, I speak to almost weekly.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. Being, he's having a little bit of adjustment to get back to normal. And but health wise, he's recovering nicely. His wounds are recovering, and he looks forward to getting back. But however long that takes, it takes.
Yeah. Now that you talk about how lucky he was, John. You showed the picture of the bullet was actually lodged in his hat.
Yes.
And he was struck in the head by that bullet in a downward kind of motion. When you saw that, what was going through your mind? And I can imagine what was going through his mind.
I've never seen anything like that, and he was very lucky. And he definitely had a guardian angel on his shoulder that night. There's no way anybody. He escaped that. You had no words for it, seeing that laying in there like that.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad he's with us. That's key.
People saw that picture and they were astounded by the fact that bullet could get trapped in there. And then he had an interesting picture in his hat.
Right.
Also, tell me about that.
Father Steve was with us for for years. We brought him on to help out in a lot of different things. Cops counseling, divorces, drinking, things like that. And he did a hell of a job for us. And unfortunately, he had a stroke and didn't recover well from that at all, and wound up passing on. Mm-hmm. And that was his funeral card in there. He was loved by many. And in fact, I really didn't know the extent of, what we were doing on behalf of officers until he passed away. Filling that void's been a tough thing to do.
Yeah, and not to slight the officer from Montgomery County who was also injured. He's doing much better from what I hear. Yeah. I'm assuming you're hearing the same thing.
Yes, he's doing well. Expected to be back to work shortly, but
two lucky guys, right?
Very lucky guys.
Yeah, John. Anything new on the investigation there on the shooting? The police department said that they thought the bullet was fired from a distance away, traveled up and then traveled down.
I don't know about all that. The last I know that they were still looking at it, but there was how many hundreds of thousands of people out there that night. Yeah. And how are you going to find that? Or if they're, that theory is true that it happened somewhere in the 22nd district and they fired up and over, then, I don't think they're ever going to find out who that is. We tried to up the reward as quick as we could and as much as we could. And, it's not gaining any traction as of yet. Yeah.
$42,000. Am I right about that altogether?
Yes. $42,000.
Yeah. John, let me ask you about morale in the police department. You talk to cops every day. Little Bird tells me sometimes you've been going out on the street with the cops and taking tours with them, kind of taking their pulse every day. Where's the police department right now? I mean, your membership, what's kind of going on in their minds?
Well, I mean, we have nobody on the street. We're out there. I take two teams from here, from the FOP. They were out every day during the week on 2 to 10, the busiest times, 2 to 10, 3 to 11, riding, in our unmarked cars to back cops up. There's nobody out there. And even if it's only 4 of us out there, still 4 more than they would have had. But morale stinks. It's terrible. Cops don't want to do anything. They're doing what they need to do to get by. They don't want to do any additional work. And I don't blame them, because you know what? They're getting hammered for everything that they do wrong. Any little thing, misstep, there's no positive discipline where you grab somebody from the side and you talk to them and explain to them what they're doing wrong. Now they're just getting hammered. So they're saying, if I'm not getting hammered by the police department, I'm going to get hammered by the DA or possibly fired by the DA. So they don't want to do anything. Last night we were out in East Division, 24th, 25th District. Mm-hmm. You have the new rookies out there, 30 or 40 of them. they're together by themselves. There's no veteran officers. They have no direction. They're not allowed to do anything. You have people that are literally out there using drugs and sticking needles in their neck, and they're standing on the corner. There's nothing that can be done. Why they're there, I don't know. They could be used in other spots. And they also have these grids. I mean, enough of the grids. We don't have enough cops in the city of Philadelphia to keep these grids down. Let's handle crime. The most important thing when somebody dials 911 is that a cop's coming. And right now in the city of Philadelphia, they're not. And morale is absolutely in the toilet. I've never seen it in my 30-some years in the police department this bad.
Yeah. Now, I know you go out there with some of your guys, the high-ranking guys, to kind of bolster that a little bit, right? Listen to the guys, listen to their complaints, listen to what they're talking about, so you can deal with the commissioner, the mayor, or whoever you have to deal with about that. And I'm sure you've been hearing things from the officers while you're out there, kind of thing. And you're on the street again, which is kind of cool for John McNesby.
Yeah, well, we're out there more for a safety issue because there's somebody backing these guys and girls up. But, as far as getting, we're spinning our wheels with the administration, and we're not getting anywhere with City Hall. So I think he's checked out. I think he's checked out quite some time ago. And unfortunately, the crime and the city, we still have a year and a half left. And man, whoever takes over after him is going to have a lot of work to do in order to get this somewhat back to normalcy.
Yeah. Murders 302 as of today.
302.
About 1% down from last year, but a nasty weekend. 18 people shot, 6 people killed. Shootings are up. Carjackings are way up. What do you think is driving this? You always hear the district attorney blame the guns and ask the legislature to crack down on weapons. You hear the mayor talk about guns. Philadelphia Police Department took 6,000 guns off the street last year. And we still have clearly a very serious gun problem, murder, violence, carjackings, things like that.
6,000 guns. I'd like to know how many offenders. Is it a small amount of offenders? Is it the same people? But they know there's no repercussion. Enough of blaming COVID for these problems. Enough of saying it's happening all around the country. We're worried about Philadelphia and the people that live in Philadelphia. I'm not worried about Chicago. I'm not worried about New York. I'm worried about Philadelphia. I'm worried about the cops on the street in Philadelphia. They're not getting what needs to be done. They're not getting the support. They're not getting the backing. Let them go out and do their job. Let us do our job respectfully. Get these cops off the grids and let them go out and arrest people. On the other hand, we have a district attorney who is a defense attorney. He does not keep people in jail. He does not lock anybody up or push or appeal unless it's a cop. We've saw that a number of times. But, now I think 3 years ago, 4 years ago, it was just John McNesby and the FOP banging their chest against this guy. And now I think people are starting to wake up. They're starting to see exactly what he's about. He's a career defense attorney. He's cutting sweetheart deals. People are leaving his office, experienced prosecutors in droves. They're just leaving. Things aren't prepared for court. We're hearing this all the time. And when they are, it's a deal that's cut and nobody's kept in jail. That's just a shame.
I like to play it right down the middle. The district attorney likes to say all he's ever done is prod the police department to build better cases, give them the most evidence possible so he can put people behind bars. I know you don't buy that argument.
No, I don't buy that argument. I mean, I don't believe in Santa Claus either. So the fact is that our guy. There's only so many ways you can sell drugs. There's only so many ways you can buy drugs. There's only so many ways that you can have a gun on the street. Unfortunately, we bring these cases in, and some of these guys are really bad guys. They deserve to be put in jail. They need to stay in jail. There's a certain portion of this element out there that needs to be in jail and stay there, and he's not leaving them there. I hear from business. We're riding around all up and down Aramingo Avenue. We're hearing the same thing from business owners. They're closing up and not coming back because they have droves of people running into their store, cleaning off the shelves, and he doesn't prosecute. Yeah. It doesn't even make it to the DA's office. They don't prosecute. So
Starbucks this week said they were going to close 16 stores across the country for safety reasons. One of them is in Center City, Philadelphia.
How embarrassing. How embarrassing is that? How embarrassing when you have, you're not going to, with the crime element, with the leadership that we have here in City Hall, you're not going to attract new businesses. People aren't going to want to come to Philadelphia. Center City is like a ghost town. When have you ever seen murders, shootings, rapes at 15th and Walnut? It's never been done. Yeah. That was always a no fly zone there, man. You're out of there. Not happening today. It's free reign everywhere. It's yard out, and they know it as much as it is as a business to the police department to make sure that these folks are arrested and we protect the community. The other element knows it's a business to them. They're going to sell the drugs. They're going to get the guns. And listen, Dave, if if John McNesby is a broad knowledge and he wants to get a gun, I'm going to get a gun. It doesn't have anything to do with the laws that they have in Harrisburg. Or those laws aren't going to change anything. They're still going to get their hands on guns, and it's still going to continue until you let the police do their job, do it respectfully, and do it to protect the community.
All right, I'm get into one of those new things we might want to be talking about soon. But if you had your druthers, what's the solution here, John, from the FOP standpoint, from the president of the FOP? What do you think would make things move in the right direction?
I think we need to have more officers on the street. We're down about 600 officers. How we solve that, I think we just switched it around from that city council ordinance that they put in where you have to live in the city for a year. Nobody's going to move to the city to hope to get a job. Yeah. So, we've switched that around. Our recruitment unit is at full speed to get people in. And, there's got to be an incentive where these community people want to join our ranks.
Yes.
I know it's tough around the country. I know it's tough to fill these positions in any place. People just don't want to come back to work for whatever reason. I don't know. But I think some of that with a nice incentive to get them back, change some rules up at the MPO Commission, the Municipal Police Officers Commission, to make it easier for these recruits. I mean, our needs here in Philadelphia might not be needed like what they have in Center County. Who cares if a cop can drive a tractor? Yeah. Our guys want to be out there backing each other up. So they can tweak some of them rules to get more people in, and I think that would help.
And, John, some of the public probably doesn't know this. I mean, just because we swear in a whole group of 120 recruits doesn't mean they're on the street right away. That's a 10-month process, is it not?
10-month process, and during that 10-month, you're losing 15 to 20 to injury, to retirement, firing, so forth, disabilities. So that's an issue too. So by the time we're swimming uphill, by the time we get those 100 out, we've lost, 80. So
okay, we talked about solutions. You say it's more cops. Interesting announcement by City Council President Darrell Clark a couple of weeks ago, and he doubled down this week with an op-ed piece in the Inquirer talking about stop and frisk. You and I both know that stop and frisk still happens in Philadelphia. That's a misnomer. It's not just stop and frisk. It's a Terry search, and it's strictly a lot of strict parameters about what you can and can't do.
Right.
We do know that the number of stops are down. What do you think about this idea from the FOP standpoint? And it sounds to me like anything moving in a direction like that could help if done properly. And I know you're going to argue that it is done properly.
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, stop and frisk it's made up by it's always happened. Like you said, it's always been in existence. It never went anywhere. If you have the ability to stop somebody based on probable cause, then you have the ability, and it's been done forever. So, I mean, our cops are not out there just throwing 10 guys on a wall, going through their pockets and hoping they find something. It's absurd to think that. Times have changed. That may have happened in the early 70s, but it's not happening now. Right. So that's always been in existence. What I think you're seeing now from City Council is, 2 years ago, everybody was screaming and yelling and banging their chest about reform and cops need this and we need to do that and defund the police and take money from their budget. Now they're saying the result of that, and now they're saying, whoa, maybe we should dial it back a little bit, start supporting, increase the budget. We need the cops out there, and to come out with something like this shows that they're at their last straw. They want us out there doing the job. They just, they're trying to hold a hand grenade without the pin in it, and then hopefully it doesn't blow up in their hands.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting. 3 city council people came right out and said they weren't in favor of that. The mayor said he wasn't in favor of it, although he did say he'd like to hear Darrell Clark kind of flush this out a little bit more, give a little bit more information about what he's thinking about. One of the council people was right up front that wasn't going to go anywhere. I know Darrell Clark. You know him very well. If he wants to press an issue, he can press it. But he does have to have a discussion here, it sounds like. Sounds like you got to be in a discussion. The police, the DA's office, the mayor's, everybody would have to be in on that discussion for it to go anywhere. Would you agree with that?
Well, yeah, I think it doesn't hurt to talk to anybody, and I'll talk to anybody any day of the week. and tell them our views, and I'll tell them the truth. I mean, if we're wrong, we're wrong. If we're right, we're right. But right now, I mean, everybody's trying to sugarcoat what's happening on the street. I mean, this is the same city council that came up with the drive-in equity bill. You can go out and do whatever you want on the streets in an unsafe car, and do whatever you want. Now, well, I don't know whether you know or not, there's the chiefs of police are stripping the accreditation of the Philadelphia Police Department.
I did not know that. No.
Yeah, so that's everybody's running and going into a bedwetting frenzy about what they do now, and does this lose funding? And let us to go up, and can we go up and save the day and testify on behalf? No, do what's right. The driving code, the motor vehicle code in Pennsylvania is for everybody. It's not a pick and choose, whether we do it. It should be for everybody, and everybody should be held accountable for that, whether you're black, white, Asian, Hispanic, it doesn't matter. So, that's the key. That's the same city council that did that. So let's get our heads back where they should be, and get this down, get things down, because you're seeing businesses close their doors. You're seeing people not want to move here. Tourists getting jacked up. I mean, you talk about the number of murders at 302. How many S numbers do they have, which are, they got to be in the three figures too.
All right. So, now that's suspicious deaths for people who don't know it. They haven't been judged to be a homicide yet. Usually that's a pretty big pile on somebody's desk.
Exactly.
And at some point in the year, they get pushed to an H, meaning a homicide, or they stay in S and it just sits there. But that number 302 is always kind of a floating number right now, even with those things sitting out there. And plus, they don't, we get warrants and stuff like that going on, those kind of things. Good news. I don't know if you know, apparently they did pick up a person of interest this morning on the subway sex assault the other day. That person is in custody at the Special Victims Unit. So that's pretty quick work by SVU.
They've been doing a great job the last couple. That other Center City rape the last week or 2 weeks ago. Yeah, they were on that, and that's the stuff we need, and they're doing a great job up there.
Yeah, Jim Carney is the new captain up there. Took over from Mark Bergman, who was also a very good captain up there. They solved a lot of cases in there. Tell me, homicide, they're doing a real good job on some big cases. They took down a serial killer last Friday who they believe was involved in 3 random shootings, like back to back to back. And they did a pretty good job and recovered the weapon, which they're now testing with ballistics. That was a pretty big case to bring in that kind of flew under the radar. But some of the other bigger homicides that have been out there, they're making arrests now.
They're doing a good job putting the hours in, and the workload, as you know, is there. Yeah, they're coordinating a lot. They have a brand new workspace down there where they're not on top of each other. They got more equipment. They got, it's a little bit easier to get your job done. And I believe that people, we need people to cooperate out there. I mean, in the old days, you were able to take witnesses in and talk to them. And now, if I say, hey, Dave, we want to talk to you about this murder that happened at Broad and Olney or wherever, maybe, you want to come down and talk. No, he doesn't have to cooperate. He doesn't have to come. So they're getting more solved now and less cooperation. So it's key that even if it's somebody that is little as something you may seem that you saw, give us a call and let us know so that we can, that little bit of information may help these investigators being able to bring a job in. So, I mean, somebody, you talk about 302 murders. You don't want to have your loved one's name on a shelf and it's not being looked at, and, you have no closure to that. So this is a good thing. And, whatever we can do to help, we're going to help. And whatever the public can do, please help us out.
And the public should know there's a $20,000 reward on every homicide. And you guys are always quick to jump in with tens of thousands of dollars on certain things when you have an opportunity to do that. People should remember that and step forward.
Yes. I mean, that's stuff you don't see city. We're not looking for accolades on that stuff. We do it on egregious cases where people are, it's really, that sends a chill up your back. So we do that. And we have that nice reward fund, and a lot of different organizations contribute to that as far as, companies, unions, and so forth. Chicky and Pete's, big supporter of that. So it's not just us. It's a lot of local businesses and companies that are helping us out also.
Okay. We have a new shooting investigation group headed by Captain John Walker. Came about an idea of Chief Frank Venor, Ben Nash, a couple of other guys. They have 40 detectives with 4 lieutenants. They're running on every single shooting with groups of 3 or 4 detectives at a time. They're at about a 30% solve rate, from what I understand, for a new group that's only been on the ground since February. And they work hand in hand with homicide. Your thoughts on that new kind of union and working together like that?
listen, new times, new ideas, new times. Anything that we can do to help get these guys off the street, I think they're doing a great job. I think that they're given the tools that they need to do. Prior, you would have a unit come in and they would tell you, like a carpenter, go build a house. They wouldn't give you a hammer.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting all that. You're getting what you need to get the job done. They're getting the job done. There's great collaboration between the units, and they're bringing some of these people in. And we applaud them for doing that because they're working.
Yeah.
Especially now during the summer, they're going. Walker, I know, he's out there 20 hours a day.
And it's good to see a group of guys show up at one time. They carry through the investigation. They're pulling in surveillance video quicker. They can load it right there in the street from their phones.
Right.
They have all kinds of new equipment that's speeding up the process here. And you mentioned this big new space over at the old Inquirer building that the police department now has finally a new police headquarters where everybody can spread out, do their job comfortably, and because they're working long hours and do it better.
Right. And I think that goes a little bit towards morale. I mean, before you would have a homicide and you would have to take a SEPTA bus to get there because we didn't have any cars. Now they're getting cars. They have cars. They have equipment. They have copiers. They have the things that they need to even the littlest things to get the job done. And that's key. I just hope that they continue to click and that 30% goes up to 50, 60.
Yeah.
And, continues to know that we're out there. And we need boots on the street in patrol cars also. So,
yeah. Can I ask you kind of the body cam stuff? How's that working? I know we had a big flurry about this about a year ago about getting more police officers with them. We have a lot of police officers now with body cams on the street, which help in investigations.
It's good because it helps the officers, that helps identify people, but it's also bad in a way. And this is what I alluded to earlier in your podcast, was that officers are getting hammered for the little things. When these cameras came out, we were told by Ross and by Ramsey this was going to roll out, but they wouldn't be used negatively against the officers. They would be, if they saw something there, they would be counseled. Well, now they have a group of people they can invade Cuba with just looking at body camera language to screw cops. And that's, you don't have your hat on. If Dave Schratweiser and John McNesby are on a wagon doing a job, they see somebody else in the background with a hat, without a hat. Why not? And boom, there you go. And then, or this happened or that happened. I mean, listen, it's a great tool, but again, they go way too far about it in their quote unquote transparency. Knock it off. Let us do our jobs. And that's what the cops are saying. Why should I do anything? I'm not going to get hammered over this. It's not worth it.
Okay.
And quite frankly, I don't blame them.
Yeah. John, we talked about numbers before. 6,300 cops, I guess, still around that number. What's your number? What's your
When Nutter was in, we had 7,200. He kept lowering the census down to 68 and down to 60. I think we need at least 6,600 cops to be out on the street. Right now, if we're at 6,000, I'd be shocked.
Right.
So we're way down. They can say the numbers or whatever the numbers. I see the numbers because we get the dues reports because every one of those members pay dues. So the fact is that there's not 6,000 cops out there. We do need these cops. We need to get a push to get them in here. We need to figure something out collaboratively and sit down and bang it out. And I'm willing to do that at any time.
They have extended the drop for some guys who were due to go out earlier in the summer.
Right.
For 1 year. Your thoughts on that?
I think I think we got about 40 to 50 people to stay.
And that keeps veteran cops on the street. Am I right about that?
That keeps the veterans in their positions for another year. I kind of like the idea that Sherelle Parker had with the bring people back that have been out less than 2 years and let them stay for up to 2 or 3 years, up to 3 years. I think that would have attracted some people again, but it didn't gain traction with the law department, and they said it couldn't be done. The same people that sit back in their chairs and drive a desk and say things can't be done should be out there on the street riding Kensington Avenue from Allegheny to Lehigh, and then tell those folks that live down there why it can't be done.
Okay. I want to finish up if we can. The mayor's had some comments in the last 2 weeks that have drawn a lot of attention. You don't have to weigh in if you don't want to. He made a comment a couple of weeks ago, but he couldn't wait till he's done in office because he can't sleep at night sometimes because of all these events that go on. He's afraid something's going to happen. He walked it back the next day with a big statement saying he loves his job. He wants to work with the people of Philadelphia. And then yesterday he made some comments that he hasn't visited any of the families of the 300 murder victims so far this year. And in fact said he hasn't visited any of the families in the 7 years he's been in office. A couple of hours later, he walked that back with a big, long statement naming all the programs, victim advocacy programs and violence programs and things like that that the city is engaged in, who are keeping in touch with the families of people who were shot, people who were murdered in the city of Philadelphia. But just overall, if you choose to, what's your thoughts on those kind of comments?
Well, he could sleep at night if he let the police do their job and gave them the backing to go out and do it in a respectful manner. Mm-hmm. So he would be fine sleeping at night. We'll get the job done. Give us some more cops. As far as him not meeting with the families, I mean, nobody wants to hear about victims advocates. And they asked the question, and I didn't hear the question. If you met with any of the families, no is no. You didn't do it. So nobody wants to hear about this program or that program. They don't care. He's the mayor of the city of Philadelphia. He was elected to do a job. Do it or leave. Simple as that. Okay.
John, how do you see things in the next 12 months for the police department and your membership?
Good question. Unless we get more people out there, it's going to be like Groundhog Day. Same thing every day. We're going to be praying our way out of this. We're going to be holding our hands. Everybody's going to have press conferences after the fact. Who has a press conference on a Monday? What happened on the weekend? Mm-hmm. They should be talking about what they're doing next week and what they're going to do for are we going to have be properly prepared for this concert in Labor Day? We're going to have enough cops. We're going to have radios out there because they didn't give them radios last time. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, let's all do our jobs out there. Let's concentrate, not worried about what other people are doing. Give the police the backing and we'll do it. We'll get the job done. But, right now morale's in the toilet. Cops have their hands up. They're doing very little to get by. And until that changes, we're not going to get anywhere.
All right, John, listen, I know you're a very busy guy. We're right in the middle of the day here. I appreciate you taking the time out to talk to us. Thanks for the update, John McNesby. Always interesting, never dull. And you can come on the show anytime you want. And maybe sometime soon we'll get everybody on the show at one time and we'll have a little more crazy conversation. But that would be fun. It would be fun.
Anyway, John, it'll be like that show, Liar, Liar. See who stands up.
All right. John, listen, I appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks again for being here, folks. Thanks for tuning in again this week on the Philly Prime Podcast, and we'll see you next time.